Should I use this mic instead, or?
Yes, we can hear you now. Before, nothing.
I don't know what's something is up with this mic, guys. Okay, well, I am going to begin by welcoming people, and we'll wait for the formal start of the public meeting when we have quorum to start. So I just want to say thank you, everybody, for being here, and thank you for those who are tuned in online. Thanks for making the time to be here with us for this public meeting. Also want to thank the team for being here and for also helping to prepare for this meeting. It's such an important part of our way that we connect with members of the public to share our work. So really grateful to everybody. So one of the things I like to remind people of, for those who are here, if it's your first time here in person, please sign in to the sign-in sheet that's outside. And if you are online, especially if you're here for the first time, we would love for you to go to nyc.gov/civic engagement and go to the tab that's marked Get Involved and fill out a form so that you can be signed on to our newsletter and follow along with what we're up to. So we welcome you to join the civic engagement community. We have some guidelines for technology and housekeeping. So just for awareness, we usually have the last 30 minutes of the meeting for members of the public to comment. This is a public meeting and not a public hearing. However, we want to make sure we're giving time for members of the public to contribute if you'd like. So anyone who is here in person can sign up during the public meeting. They can also sign up in advance by emailing us. Those instructions for how to sign up are posted with the public meeting notice. And if you're here or online, you can also sign up to comment through email or text today by 12:15, since we got started a little bit late. And yeah, we look forward to hearing from members of the public in these settings as well. So we're still waiting on quorum, and wondering if maybe just to orient ourselves a little bit, we could just go around for those who might be new to introduce the people who are with us, and then hopefully we'll get quorum soon. So I'll start. My name is Dr. Sarah Said, and I'm the chair and executive director of the commission, and I'm also an appointee of the mayor's. Happy to be here. So I will go to my left first and then Edwin.
Can you hear me? Yep, it works. Hi, good morning, everyone. My name is Edwin Maxwell. I am a commissioner for, I believe, it's going on 2 years at this point. Yes, it's going by fast. Any other information? During my day job, I am the Director of Neighborhood Services for the Brooklyn Public Library. So I oversee the 60 branch locations there. Yeah, so thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Donna Gill. I've been a commissioner since we started. I was appointed by the mayor. I'm a community activist, community member in Central Harlem, and I do a lot of work with housing and community engagement and advocacy. Thank you, and welcome.
Hi, everyone. My name is Eve Barron. I am I was appointed by the Brooklyn Borough President, and I've been on the commission since 2019. That was our start, right? Yeah, 2019, pre-COVID. And my day job, I'm an urban planner. I'm the chairperson of the Graduate Center for Planning and the Environment at Pratt Institute. So welcome, everyone. Good to see people here.
Hey, good morning, everyone. My name is Giovanni Barcenas. I am serving as a commissioner since 2023. I started with Edwin. I'm a mayoral appointee and yeah, born and raised in Queens. And my day job is working for an education nonprofit called City Year. We recruit young adults to do service in schools for a year between the ages of 18 to 24. So very involved and passionate about raising awareness and civic engagement in schools for young people. And, you know, just very grateful and to be here and nice to meet you all.
Thank you so much. And we can go to the folks online.
I can
Also,
go.
have your mic as we're here. Holly, do you want to start and then popcorn it to someone?
Sure. My name is Reverend Dr. Holly Bonner. I am a commissioner from Staten Island. I've also been on the commission since the beginning in 2019. In my day job, I am an interfaith minister and a social worker, and I am currently a professor at the College of Staten Island. Very happy to be here. I'll send it over to Lillian.
Good morning, all. Pleasure to be here with you. My name is Lillian Perez, and I've been a Bronx commissioner since the beginning. And my current position is Vice President of Government and Community Relations for Montefiore Einstein, a health system that serves the Bronx, Westchester, Orange County, and Rockland. And also we own Albert Einstein College of Medicine. Pleasure to meet you. I'll now hand it over to Natalie.
Hi, thank you, Lillian. I am Natalie DeVito. I'm one of the commissioners in Staten Island. I am a borough president appointee, and I'm happy to be here today. Is there someone I need to toss the football to?
I think we're good. I think Barbara, one of our team members, is on the call as well and will be speaking later in the meeting. So we are one person short of quorum. Just one person. So I'm trying to figure out what else we can cover in this part of the conversation without necessarily. Yeah, I mean, the most important thing is the vote that's needed, I guess. So I will just go ahead and start by overviewing the agenda for the meeting. And today we are going to be voting on a resolution related to voter language assistance. And we also have to approve the minutes from the last meeting. So we'll wait for that for quorum. For program updates, a lot of, it's a busy time, as everybody knows, for the Civic Engagement Commission. We are going to be serving voters during the primary with language assistance. So we'll tell you a little bit about that. We'll tell you about where we are with the People's Money participatory budgeting as we are in the vote phase until towards the end of June 25th. And then we'll be talking more about project implementation from the winning projects. There'll be updates on that. And then Oscar had started us off on a presentation about the digital equity team. So we'll continue that because we ran out of time last time, and tell you a little bit also about ad campaigns that we are going to be leveraging to do outreach on both our work with language communities as well as participatory budgeting. And then I'm hoping to involve you all in a little bit of a relational organizing activity, a little bit. Hopefully we have time. We also have a presentation from the Independent Budget Office as well. So that's kind of an overview of what we're hoping to cover today. What I do want to note is that last time we also started reviewing the Civic Engagement Commission values statement, and I'd sent around the value statement for commissioners to look at and comment on. And I had said that we'd bring it back for this meeting, and I didn't do that because I did get comments from a few of you and would like a few more of you to comment before we kind of make it into the commission meeting. So we'll do that hopefully next time. Okay. So we can start, I think, with our program updates. Anila, if you'd like to start us off, that would be great.
Good morning, everyone. So we've been really busy at the voter language services team at the CEC. We've had a few special elections in the past several months, as you know. So from our last public meeting till today, we've served 2 special elections. The one for Senate District 22. We provided services over the last 3 days of the early voting period at 7 unique poll sites for a total of 14 language services. On election day, May 20th, we provided services at 21 poll sites for a total of 24 language services. A total of 32 voters were assisted. We also provided services at one poll site where the Council District 51 special election took place on Staten Island. There were no voters served for that special election, that single site. We are now, next slide, please. We are now preparing, well, we've been preparing for a while serving the special elections that I just went over. For the June primary, we are going to be providing services at 26 early voting poll sites for a total of 46 language services over the last 3 days of the early voting period. On election day, we will have interpreters at 90 unique poll sites for a total of 94 language services. So in total for this primary election, we will be providing 140 language interpretation services. We've been working, next slide, please. We've been working, as we announced in our last meeting, with community-based organizations to pilot in-language workshops that are targeting voter language assistance program communities and to educate them on ranked choice voting, voting rights, including the right to vote in one's language, as well as CEC's voter interpretation services for the June primary. You'll see on the screen there are a couple of pictures, so those workshops are underway. We still have several more to take place. Everything will conclude by June 23rd. We've also working with our outreach team director, Barbara Williams, to implement a robust outreach calendar on the ground. So we'll be working with Barbara and her team and volunteers to canvass and table in various voter language assistance program geographies using, of course, marketing materials that we produced in all of the voter language assistance program languages. As part of the June primary in-language content effort, we produced web pages in language. There's one for each voter language assistance program language, which and each of those pages that you'll see to the right of the screen incorporates practice ballots online, ranked choice voting practice ballots in language, as well as a new PSA that explains the ranked choice voting process. And with that, like to thank you. And if you're interested in sharing our materials with your networks or through your social media, we'd be happy to share that, circulate that with you later today.
I think we're going to play the ranked choice voting video.
Okay.
Yeah.
The June primary election is almost here. You'll use ranked choice voting to choose candidates for city offices. You may rank up to 5 candidates. To vote, pick your first choice and completely fill in the oval next to their name, under the first column. If you like more than one candidate, fill in the corresponding ovals for your second, third, fourth, and fifth choices. Do not rank the same candidate more than once. Do not give the same rank to multiple candidates. If you want to choose just one candidate, that's fine too. Election day is Tuesday, June 24th. Early voting runs from Saturday, June 14th to Sunday, June 22nd. You have the right to bring a friend or family member to interpret for you at the polls. Civic Engagement Commission interpreters will assist voters and select poll sites and languages. To learn more, visit on.nyc.gov/VLA.
Right? What were some of the changes we made to this year?
So we had the RCVPSA we had in the past, first of all, like visually was no longer valid because the little people in the video were wearing masks because that video was put together during COVID. Secondly, this video incorporates both ranked choice voting messaging as well as the right messaging about the right to vote in one's language. And it'll be more effective, and we're combining, the messages that we need to put out.
Yeah, thank you. So we would love to ask the commissioners to share this video. Just send it to, by email, and we'll make sure that you have it after the meeting. One thing I do want to remind ourselves about is that the message about the right to vote with an interpreter's assistance is something that we have threaded throughout our messaging from the beginning. And we have done that because that message is actually not given out too much. Like we noticed that there was a gap, that message wasn't being delivered generally. And also we are very mindful that even though we're providing a service, we cannot provide that service in every language at every poll site. So we want to make sure that voters are empowered with the knowledge that they can, just bring their own interpreter. And that includes in the languages that we're providing services in, because we are only in the communities with the highest concentration of voters. And there are lots of communities where the languages are spoken. However, they don't have the assistance. So that's another, I think, value that we're adding in terms of our work, is just the broader message that we hope to get out to voters. Okay, any questions for Anila? Anyone online have questions for Anila?
I don't have a question, I just have a comment. Is that okay, Sarah?
Oh,
It's Barbara.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, Gio.
Yeah,
and then,
go ahead.
Barbara. Okay, Barbara and then Gio.
Okay, I just want to say, the outreach is fortunate enough to work across all the program lanes. But I just wanted to take the time to thank Anila and her team for all the great work that she does. It's very important what she does, and to be able to assist it in the work that she does is truly an honor. So thank you.
Thank you, Barbara.
This is great work, and I was just gonna ask for the voter language workshops. Do we ask the attendees at the end, like almost like a survey, to see, do you understand ranked choice voting now, so that we can kind of say attendees that attended these workshops now have a good understanding of ranked choice voting or something like that?
We haven't developed a feedback survey for this round, since it's a pilot and everything had to come together really within a short time frame. but we are asking the community-based organizations that are conducting these workshops to report back on questions that might be lingering for workshop attendees, or what their feeling of the grasp of the ranked choice voting process is or was after the workshop. So we're trying to keep it simple. We also provided all of the content in language, the decks, to the community-based organizations. So the messaging is consistent across the board for all the community-based organizations and all attendees of their workshops. So we're hoping to get some, also we're having a few staff members attend some of the workshops. So we have eyes on the ground to get a sense of what's the perception out there about the ranked choice voting process and how participants of these workshops are reacting to the content. You're welcome.
So, Barb, thank you. And I'm really happy, impressed that the message about being able to bring someone to the poll site, because being a poll worker, I understand a lot of people get turned away because we don't have language access,
Barrier.
on site, and they're not going to allow them. A lot of the poll workers don't allow you to bring somebody in with you. And I have to constantly be telling people, that's the law. People can bring whomever they want. So to have that language is so very important, because a lot of people that are at the poll sites are not even aware that someone can bring a family member or someone else to interpret for them.
Yeah, it's definitely a very important message, especially for the target communities of our program, because they are generally people with, it's anecdotal. We don't have actually hard data on this, but the expectation is that there are people who do not have the bandwidth for engagement, as someone who doesn't have the language barrier. So it's especially important to push out the message that they have this right and many other rights to our language communities. And we've incorporated that as well in the decks we provided to the community-based organizations. It's very important. And it's true. I may have witnessed one or two cases myself when I'm voting that people, both poll workers and voters are not aware of their rights.
Okay, thank you, Anila. Just stay because we'll soon get into the
Okay, thank you.
resolution. Mitch, welcome. You want to just introduce yourself really quickly, and then we'll move into attendance and starting the public meeting.
Sure. Testing, testing, testing. All right, Mitchell, pronouncing him commissioner serving on the council.
Okay, so I will call to order officially the public meeting and take attendance since we now have quorum. And I wanted to mention that Ishrat Jahan, who was one of our commissioners, resigned as she was not able to continue to come to the meetings in person. So I just want to thank her for her service and also congratulate her because she now has a new job, and that was part of the reason why. Okay, so attendance beginning with Murad Awade. I know he's not here. Gio Barcenas. Eve Barron. Holly Bonner. Holly. Okay, Holly is online and hopefully she can unmute. Amy is not here. Natalie?
Yes,
Davida?
here, thank you. Mhm.
You, Mark
Present.
Diller? here. Donna Gill,
Here.
Edwin Maxwell.
Present.
Yeah. Lillian Perez,
Here.
thank you. Mitch Wu,
Present.
okay. Holly, I'll give you another chance. Yeah, give her a call. Because then we won't have, maybe not have quorum. All right, maybe we just continue with the program updates. Great. Hello. We had a mirage for a minute, a quorum, and then not sure, and now I think we're good.
Okay.
Mark Diller, attendance. Would you like? Really? Oh, good to know. Oh. Okay, well, thank you for that piece of education. It's called a motion of what? Motion to sense of an absence. Okay, good. All right. Well, we can proceed with the business that we have today. The first being that we need to approve the minutes from April. So you all have the minutes from the last meeting. Are there any additions or corrections to the minutes that we presented to you? And also, commissioners, if you are participating virtually, can you unmute your mic so we can hear your vote? Could someone make a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Okay, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Please say nay. Are there any abstentions? Okay, so the motion to approve the minutes passes with, I guess, 8 votes. Yeah. Okay, so the next item on the agenda is reviewing the updates to the language assistance methodology. So as you all know, this methodology was publicly vetted and we had a public hearing. And part of what we need to do is that the methodology relies on census data to describe the proportions of language communities that are eligible for our services across the city. And we look at every language and we look at the citizens of voting age who are limited English proficient according to census data. And these percents are derived from the 5-year data sets that include the American Community Survey for every 5 years. So what we had been using to date was the American Community Survey data 5-year compilation of 2017 to 2021. And there is a new 5-year data compiled and ready for our use. So we use this data 2019 to 2023 to determine where we were providing services we would be providing services for the primary. So you're being asked to review the numbers and vote on this update to the resolution. So overall, on the handout that you have, that's at the top of your file that you have for the meeting today. Essentially, the changes to this resolution are one at the top where the scope, it just says that we are updating this resolution today. And then for the columns, for number 7, in the methodology, every program eligible language has a new population number as well as a new percent share next to it. Typically, we've been rounding to 1 percentage point. So, and then when we show this data, but then typically when we pick the poll site, we round up to a whole number. So you can look across for each of the populations and you'll be able to see what the changes have been, like where there has been growth, where there's been a decline in the population. And we don't always know why the numbers go down for each and every language. But in general, most of the languages have gone up, a few have gone down.
I
And
can
then
give a quick
want to say
overview.
more.
Yeah. So the language with the most significant change here is Russian, is losing 2 percentage points. Also, 3 other languages, French, Italian, and Polish are losing like 0.5 percentage point to 0.8. And then there are 4 languages that are gaining. Yiddish is gaining 1.5, almost 1.5 percentage point. And Arabic is gaining 0.5 percentage point. Same for Bengali. And Chinese gains over 1% percentage point. While Haitian, Korean, and Urdu remain roughly the same as in the past data set.
Thank you, Anila. The other edit is in the footnote, which tells you which 5-year data set we're using, and finally the amended date at the end of the document changes as well. So does anyone have any questions or comments on this update to the methodology procedures? Anyone online have any questions or comments?
So if I'm reading this correctly, the list of languages that we would be proposing to serve doesn't change, just the percentages within it.
That's correct. Anila, did you want to comment on the change?
No changes. We're just updating the data set that we work with. We're actually going to implement this, the allocation based on the new data set starting from the June primary.
There are no other comments. I move to approve.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so we have unanimously approved the updates to the methodology. Thank you, Commissioners. Okay, we can now move into just continuing to share some of the great updates from the team. We're moving into participatory budgeting updates as the next segment. And I wanted to just do a quick overview. You'll be able to see. Let me know when the ballots are up. So, okay, great. I wanted to just share with everyone, when you go online to vote or when you are in the field to vote on the project, you typically get handed your borough ballot. So you don't necessarily see what's going on in the other boroughs. So I just wanted to make sure that I put that into this presentation today. And every borough, you'll see that the amounts that are allocated to each project are different. As a reminder, this amount was determined through our looking at the poverty level for each borough and population size. So every borough is allocated a different amount of the full amount, the full pot. So for the Bronx, there's $100,000 per project, and there'll be 5 projects funded. And you see here that, you know, there's such a variety of great projects that people have proposed as well as selected in the second phase of the ballot creation. And there's projects for a variety of populations that CEC is charged with working with. So the Bronx ballot has 10 projects, and then we can go to Brooklyn. Brooklyn has a lot of youth projects, 235,000 per project, and top 5 will be funded in Brooklyn. Manhattan, we go ahead to Manhattan. 165,000 per project, 165,000 per project, and the top 4 projects will be funded here. And then for Queens, 195,000 per project, and 5 projects will be funded. And then for Staten Island, it is 190,000 for 1 project. We also want to share some photos with you about that show our partners at work. As you all know, we are working with a lot of community-based organizations to help us do outreach for the people's money. So they're hard at work collecting votes. And you see that we are also giving out some merch, CEC merch, people's money bags and pens and bottles. So those are all out there. And I actually also brought along some palm cards that I'll give each of you so that you could share them with with people as you're out there in the world. Next slide. This year, we're also working with the Sunnies again, the huge yellow civic and engagement puppets, as well as the Sunny inflatable. And we've been out at borough flagship events. Mitch, thanks for coming out to the Queens one. It's really great to see you there. And we did all 5 boroughs to date with flagships, where our teams largely staffs those events. And then, of course, our partners are continuing to work, and we may go out and do other engagements as well as a team. So those are some great photos of people out doing work in the field. And then next slide. Just to give you a little bit of an insight as to where we are with the vote collection. This is is picture since Monday. There are other things, it's not a complete picture because we just had on Tuesday, we did an event and we collected more votes and the partners are in the field. But as of Monday, we had 23,255 votes to date. We'll have another drop off from our organization partners or ballots. They'll bring in paper ballots, we'll scan them. So, these numbers will change. We just want to give you a sense of where things are. And if you have any borough affinity for your borough, promote it in your borough as well. And I'll talk a little bit more about how we can work together to promote a little bit later. Next slide. In addition to working with all the great community-based organizations, we have ballot boxes that look like what you see in the picture. It's a little box with like a top part, what do you call the little slip? That's right. Where people can drop their ballots. And these ballot boxes have been placed in public libraries across the city. There are 24 in Queens, 25 in Brooklyn, 46 across Bronx, Manhattan, and Staten Island. And then there are additional partner sites that are hosting these ballot boxes, organizations. So organizations can opt in to host these ballot boxes. So we have 115 of them. Next slide. We like to work with schools. We've been working with the New York City Public Schools Civics for All office to reach and connect with the schools that are Civics for All schools that are doing participatory budgeting. And we have enlisted some of those schools to participate in this vote, as well as our partners on the ground. The organizations we're working with are also working with schools. So there's 2 different ways that we are making inroads into schools for PB. And we have 128 partnerships in total with schools. So we're looking forward to having students also participate through the school system. Okay, next I'm going to turn to Barbara Williams, who's going to update us on the community facilitators and ambassadors tracks.
Thank you so much. My name is Barbara Williams. I have the privilege of being the Director of Outreach and Volunteer Programs at the CEC. Since I last spoke to you, we've had the fortune of growing our team by one person, and that is Justin Usher, who is actually in the audience today. Justin, wave your hand. He is the borough coordinator for Brooklyn, and he's done a lot of work with me on the language piece for Anila. So I just wanted to make sure that everyone knew who he was. But I also wanted to come talk to you about the two programs that the outreach team is working on. One of it being the community facilitators piece, and the other one's being the ambassador piece. So the community facilitator piece is actually something new. And so with the community facilitator piece, the community facilitators, we have actually 11 community facilitators. And what they're trusted messengers that we gathered, and it's a citywide program. And what they do, they host civic one-on-one workshops and get people to cast their votes for PB. And this is done virtually or in person. And they are scheduled to do 27 engagements, as you see, in total. They've completed a total of 15 so far, and they have 12 upcoming. And the various types of engagements you can see below goes from schools to working with the older adult centers for a total of 27. And these are some of the harder to reach populations. Next slide. As for the PB ambassador updates, this is a reimagined program. Catherine Gao, who is out in Manhattan coordinator, and she focuses on the Asian population in some other areas as well. She and we started this program a couple of years ago, but now it is citywide. And this is where we take trusted messengers and we get them to focus on hard to reach areas within their communities. And so originally we had the goal of having volunteers recruited to cover these numbers as you see within the boroughs. But unfortunately, due to volunteer fall off or availability, we've had to shift how we were able to work with the volunteers. Our goal originally was to have 32 volunteers citywide, and we've had to manage to deal with 25 volunteers to do the work. Next slide. So as to date, you'll see that these are the numbers for the ballots collected in the boroughs. We still have Bronx pending because these are what they are capturing. And what they do is they upload the information in a digital tracker, and they let us know weekly what they are submitting, what the people have voted on. And so every Friday they will submit to us, but Bronx is still pending. Thank you.
Thanks, Barbara. Okay, those are some of the things that are in play right now as far as gathering votes and the different ways we're going about collecting votes. Of course, in addition to all of these in-person methods, which is largely what I spoke with you about, the online voting option is always available for people, and we want to make sure that we are getting that out as well. So we could share a little bit more with you about how you can help us with that. Next, we have the updates on project implementation. So Kwesi and Lauren, if you could come up and just talk us through some of the slides there.
Is this on? Okay, great. Hi, everybody. We're standing in for Lexi today, who you usually hear from on project implementation updates. My name is Lauren Hanley. I'm an impact assessment consultant.
My name is Kwesi Jimin. I'm also a consultant supporting implementation.
Okay, great. We could go ahead to the next slide. Next one, please. Okay, so here are some outputs. This is information and metrics that we've gathered from monthly reporting that is submitted by our implementing partners. So this gives a bit of a snapshot of where we're at with the implementing projects. Currently, we've served about 5,415 unique individuals. There's been about 364 workshops held. Through the workshops, 3,233 people were participants. We've had about 60 events thrown by our implementing partners, serving about 1,642 people. And then total number of people who have received resources, this could be food, service referrals, all types of services, 1,660. And then the total number of people who received one-on-one consultations, this might be counseling, career advising, that sort of one-on-one attention through these projects, 724 people. Yeah, the next slide, please. Here's just some photos of some of the projects. In Queens, we have the Connection Resource Center. In Manhattan, Self-Defense Education for Women. In Brooklyn, errands for older adults and people with disabilities. In the Bronx, we have Youth Enrichment Program with the Arts. In Manhattan, the Mothers Matter Project. And in Brooklyn, Language and Job Recertification for Immigrants. These photos were also submitted through the monthly reporting. And now I'll turn it over to Kwesi, who's going to share some testimonials that have been shared through that same monthly reporting from our partners.
Thank you, Lauren. And so I was about to say I can't read. To highlight some of the project stories in the monthly reporting, our CBOs also provide testimonials to capture the impacts of the projects on participants. And so on this slide, we have two testimonials from a project taking place in Harlem by Mark. They are in charge of Mothers Matter, where they're providing critical resources and services to new mothers. And one participant essentially said, thanks to the support for the Mothers Matters project, I was able to avoid eviction and stay in my home. They helped me navigate the resources available, and without them, I don't know where I'd be. That was really touching to hear that, you know, the impacts that the participants are facing are as immediate as, you know, someone being prevented from eviction. And then there are also some more long-term supports that others are receiving. And so just to see that variety has been great. Another quote from a project that's taken place in Queens. I believe this is being conducted by CM Common Point, and they are doing the Healthy Meals Partnership. One participant said, I used to think healthy food was too expensive and complicated, but now I know how to prep meals for the week with just a few ingredients. My kids even ask for the veggie stir fry now. And so this is also great to hear because one, the education that the project is providing and how that's switching habits, nutrition and eating habits of the participants immediately has been great to see as well. This is actually also reflective of a similar project that's happening in the Bronx, where the Institute for Family Health, they're working on slashing Bronx hunger through similarly providing education and access to more nutritional meals. And here we have next slide. Here we have two more testimonials, one from a project that's taking place in Brooklyn. This is being conducted by Kings Bay Y. They are in charge of the Errands for Older Adults project. A project volunteer said, supporting the older population in our community means so much because it feels like I'm not only helping others, but also honoring my own family. This was particularly great to see because not only is this project meant to provide that physical support to the elderly and to folks with disabilities who may experience difficulty in carrying out their day-to-day errands. The goal was also to build that intergenerational connection as well as strengthen community overall. And so I feel like this quote was very reflective of that. And in Northern Manhattan, specifically Inwood and Washington Heights. Another partner, Malika, they're actually conducting self-defense education classes for women ages 18 and above. And here we have a quote which pretty much exemplifies a participant using what they've learned in the workshop in real time to prevent themselves from a potentially dangerous situation. This person says, I applied what I learned when someone I didn't know started asking me questions about how long I have lived in the neighborhood. I remember what the facilitator said about the shortening of the interaction and using the broken record method. As you all may know, in the past couple of years, there has been a bit of a rise in, gender and hate-based violence. And so these workshops really provide young women with the skill sets to, address these situations and protect themselves whenever they come up.
Okay, and next we have a video actually about our project cycle management workshops, which have been a capacity building effort taken on by the CEC to support our implementing projects. I believe you've all heard from Professor Mark Johnson before at one of these meetings who came and spoke about that work. So this video captures some reflection from participants, which are implementing partners in these capacity building workshops.
The logic behind this training was first to create a common knowledge around how do we talk on about impact assessment, and how do we connect the things that we do to the change that we want to see in our communities. So the training was intended to provide nonprofits with that common language, to make sure that we were developing baselines, that we were developing surveys, data collection tools, that we had clear theories of change, ultimately to be able to be accountable to New Yorkers and say, here is how the organizations implemented project, here's how your money impacted people's lives, and also to set the organizations for them to be able to fundraise, to improve the work that they do, and to continue to do what they do.
The workshops are really structured based on project cycle management, which is a methodology that works with projects and programs sort of from A to Z. So the idea is that the organizations don't approach projects in an ad hoc way, but rather that they're well planned out and that they're following this methodology, which has 4 phases and associated skills with it, and is thought to be quite effective at running projects.
One of the main things was actually that we thought we needed to do more hands-on work with people, as opposed to covering concepts and talking about different topics. We learned that a lot of people were actually applying the concepts that we talked about, but they didn't have exactly the language to talk about the things that they were doing already on the ground. We really learned that organizations are meeting a lot of really big needs in communities. So what we do is actually work with them instead and do hands-on creation and development of tools in the workshops themselves.
Well, in January 2025, we started with 47. By the time we got to March 2025, we grew to 172 participants. Because it makes such an impact in the community, it's not something I want to end at the end of this particular funding. I want to be able to continue to provide these services into the community. So the capacity building workshops that we attend here allow me to do that.
These capacity building workshops have been really helpful in us developing our M&E. We are, again, a really small organization, but it's really hard to translate that need into the language that funders speak. And so these capacity building workshops have been really helpful in really learning how to speak that language.
we use these initial survey responses as a pilot as we learn from them. And now as we're gearing up for this work that's going to start in the summer, which is in partnership with the New York City Department of Health and Mental Hygiene, we're ready for this engagement that we're going to have with these community members. And the survey is going to depict that in a very accurate way.
Yeah, so we're really glad to have been able to, like next slide, have that video come together. One, to better highlight the work that's actually being done in the capacity building workshops in a real way. And two, to also use it as a attractor for new potential partnerships once they realize this is the work that we are engaging with other CBOs. As you may know, working with the city, not many agencies provide this level of capacity building with partners. And so we just felt like it was really important to highlight. And fortunately, we just graduated our second cohort last month. And so we had a ceremony at the new school, which is where the workshops are held. And in the picture, you can see ourselves, including all of the partners that we've been working with over the past several months, and just some reflections that we received in terms of the value add they received from the workshops. One implementation partner said, "The workshops have positively impacted my project, giving me the tools to properly pivot where necessary. A lot of data collected helped with this particular thing." Another partner said they, as in the workshops, were helpful in helping us feel supported and learning how to build out a project from start to finish, giving us a better understanding of how to measure and evaluate impact in the work that we do. And so these quotes were definitely affirming because these workshops do set out to, one, build capacity, help partners improve their outcomes, as well as strengthening the sustainability of said projects. So yeah, super glad to have been a part of that.
It was a really great experience, and these partners essentially completed a graduate program in project cycle management in the course of 1 year. So the ceremony was an awesome way to honor that. And I believe that closes out our piece on project implementation. Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much. Oscar Romero is next with the digital equity team presentation. I don't remember where you left off, Oscar, last time. So if you could pick up where you left off, I guess. Sorry.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Let's see. So I think it's easiest and it's best just for everybody who's joining us that I start. I think this time we have plenty of time and we can cover the content. Yes, just for clarity, I think okay. That sounds good. Okay, so I'll be brief then. Well, hello everybody. My name is Oscar Romero. I am the Chief Information Officer of the Civic Engagement Commission. I would like to introduce my team. So we have the Digital Equity team. We have Sonia Putzel, the Technology Strategist, Sadie Pregor, Design Strategist, Joel Perser, Director of Public Affairs, Devon Woodwin, who is our Data and Impact AmeriCorps member, who now is a consultant with us, and Asabri Sharma, who's not with us anymore, but who was our digital equity consultant. So in the next slide, please, just to get you a sense of the parts of the program that we work with. We touch every one of the program lanes in the commission by doing impact assessment, creating partnerships, managing technology vendors, managing content. We manage the external communications and provide technical assistance. And then, as you are very well aware, there's a number of regulations and laws that require us to follow cybersecurity practices, to create racial justice plans, to follow privacy practices that we oversee and implement across the commission. And I'll tell you more about the ways in which this looks like for the work that we do. So just to frame it to the next slide, please. The challenge next that we were set up to do is to design the digital infrastructure for us to be able to achieve the charter mandated goals. In short, to be able to power the participatory budgeting program and make it possible, make the scale that we operate on functional and cost effective. Next, please. Now, the challenge is not only a matter of, next slide, please. Yeah, it's not only a matter of achieving the goals, it's also achieving the goals in places where there's large digital inequality and different forms of systemic discrimination that limit the ways in which you can talk to people. So, next slide, please. So the challenge there, next again, is that there are communication barriers that exist in those neighborhoods that next follow a logic that reflects a history of segregation, the segregation of the city around redlining that translated in groups being limited in the resources that they could have and their communities having less opportunities and available services along the lines of class, race, and ethnicity, and also in terms of the limited representation. So that in the context of the digital divide, next slide, please, it translates in three different dimensions. On one, we could think about the telecommunications infrastructure, right? Like where do cables go? Where is the hard infrastructure people have? What are the quality of the connections that people have? You wouldn't be surprised to know that in the South Bronx, there's very limited numbers of technology vendors that provide higher prices for lower services than the ones you will get in Midtown. Then how many providers do you have an impact, of course, on the number of the services and the quality and affordability. And then that is only on infrastructure. Having infrastructure doesn't mean you can afford to pay for the infrastructure. Then you have to have hardware and software. You have to have devices. And there's another world of quality of devices. Not the same things you can do with a brand new computer that what you can do with an old phone. And the devices are not designed to last. They're designed for you to consume them. So they are programmed to be obsolete relatively quickly, which again limits the ability of people to keep up, even if they do get access to some of them. So that all of that, assuming that you have some basic knowledge about and digital literacy around how to use these devices. The market will tell you how to consume. They will tell you how to buy things, but they will not teach you how to learn from the challenges that you have in your community, how to find job opportunities, how to discern misinformation from facts. So all of that happens in the context of schools and education and civic engagement places. So next slide, please. The thing that I was able to cover with you last time, next please, that I'm not going to cover in detail this time is the context of this inequality in New York City. The highlights, I will just go through. You see that map? That is the map of the, according to the census data from 2020, about the access to broadband across the city. You will see that it aligns closely with the three neighborhoods, basically because all the inequality that we see in the neighborhoods is also mirrored in terms of broadband. On the other side, you will see a chart with the discrepancies between boroughs. You wouldn't be surprised to know that the numbers of households without broadband are higher in the Bronx and lowest in Manhattan. If you keep going in the slides, in this presentation, you can see more information about the different forms in which this inequality happens across the types of connectivity that people have and the types of devices. There's important exceptions in Brooklyn, for example, for religious beliefs. Some people choose not to be connected, not to have broadband access or computers at home. But that being said, all I'm trying to say here is to design a digital infrastructure. Next slide, please. Next, and next. There you go. So to design a digital infrastructure that was going to keep these things in mind, we couldn't just go with the playbook of let's design something that is mobile first, that is online, that is most of the participatory budgeting programs across the world focus on online engagement, right? So what our strategy instead was to enable our community-based organizations that were doing in-person outreach and to mirror a dual strategy, to have digital ballots, yes, that were accessible in different languages, that were mobile first, assuming that the people that were going to have to use us were going to use their phones. But on the other hand, to have paper ballots, to have a strong outreach strategy with paper ballots that was going to be supported by the nonprofits, and that to this day continue to be the lion's share of our collection. And so then the challenge becomes one of reading and counting ballots and of data assessment. So one of the things I wanted to do, and I wanted just to take a moment to reflect on, is that it's in this slide that I'm presenting to you. And it has to do with what is the perspective that we depart when we design technology. most of the conversations that you will ever hear about innovation are always going to be focused on efficiency and profit, because that's the context of what technology was designed for in many cases. And the challenge is that also in the context of government, there's this notion that things can be neutral. And if I can show you something, is that is nothing is neutral in the context of the city. We were trying to change the framework from a city that services people, right, and assumes that these different services are technical in nature and thus they do not address inequality, to instead one that focuses on reducing poverty and inequality by recognizing those discrepancies. And I wanted to take a moment just to reflect on what is the context of this work to try to build trust in our communities, right? We are experiencing right now, outside of our city and everywhere in the country, a moment of criminalization of our immigrant communities in the context of partisan politics that promote hate and division, right? In many ways, we see the consequences of political institutions that not only were not designed to represent people, but that were designed to discriminate and segregate communities. And this infrastructure is an example of that. Whether it was to redlining, whether it was to gerrymandering, whether it was to infrastructure, highways, or broadband. And I think the work that we do in the commission, the ethos of why we exist, is that the government can be better, that our communities deserve better, that we can show that we can be responsive to community needs and actually try to represent people on a regular basis through participatory processes, and that they can go to scale. So just wanted to anchor the reason why we need to be able to work and function with limited resources is to show that it can be done. And if we can do this with $3.5 million, with $5 million, with less than $500,000 as a resource for budget for technology, then the larger government agencies in the city can also do this. And that's the point. So next slide. I will not spend a lot of time on this notion of inclusive innovation. Go to the next one. But the idea here, next, please, was just to tell you that the process has to be anchored on values. The process of innovation, of creating technology solutions, if it usually is just this notion of you have an idea, then you implement that idea, it gets adopted, it gets retained, and success. Your idea is working. Next, please. But in the context of government, in our context, it happens in institutions where there's rules and regulations and cultural practices that make those just not happen, right? You cannot just go and implement whatever you want without consequence. And so we're against a culture where in the city, the design of digital services has been mostly outsourced, right? So next slide, please. So what we're proposing is a framework where we think about what are the changes that we can do to those governance structures in a way that we're intentionally creating processes that are centering people. So that was the logic that went behind our decision-making for which vendors and which tools to use. Next, please. And next, and one more time. Keep going. See, you can tell that this is my spirit of trying to pass quickly through this content. Next slide, please. So I will leave you with this. One of the ways that we decided to approach our technologies and our vendors is focused on these values. Thinking technology for equity. You know, when we decided to talk to people and create tools where we were going to talk about community needs, we didn't want to collect people data so that a company could then sell you something based on that. We were trying to build something for the future, create infrastructures that the city will own versus a vendor. So that then when our money is spent, we don't just invest on improving the product of somebody that can just raise the price because quote unquote inflation, and then suddenly we cannot afford to use it. And then finally, we wanted to create tools that were accessible to people and that were responsive to change. So let's go to the next slide. So it takes me to the work that we have been doing. Next. So we did a landscape analysis of the different tools that we could use for civic engagement. We audited the existing tools that we had in terms of how users were using it, whether they were accessible. We received feedback from City Council. We did cost-benefit analysis, and we developed a roadmap to basically align our vendors. We had 3 vendors, Decision 21, Spruce Technologies, and Open Source Politics, and create a plan that was not just simply going to increase the cost of this, but also create an own infrastructure and technical capacity in the commission. So core to that were 2 things. 1, migrating the infrastructure to a city-owned infrastructure, and 2, develop technical capacity that now we have with the team that I introduced to you. Next slide, please. So what were the problems that we found out? Next, one is that we were vendor locked. If we just continued to work with the same vendor, we had a full dependency. They could increase the prices. We couldn't do anything to walk away. Second, there were improvements that we needed to do that to be able to achieve this, to integrate offline and online solutions. And lastly, laws continue to change in New York City, and we needed to be able to respond to those and have internal teams. So next slide, please. So the tool that we use, next, please, is a tool called the CDIM. The CDIM is the largest open source platform for participatory budgeting in the world. It was designed by the government of Barcelona, and the idea was basically three things. One, it is open source, as in everybody can use the code, and then whatever a city builds on it, other cities can leverage. You have to have the technical talent to be able to do that, but you can. It is supposed to be a constructive framework for ourselves as governments and create a public square, digital public square, versus extractive framework that tries to get the data and transform the people that uses the tools as products. And it is value-driven. It is value-driven in the sense that it is promoting city-owned infrastructure that cities can improve versus privately owned structures that can be sold. Next. So what the tool does in concrete for us is it allows you to submit, next please. It allows you to submit ideas online. It allows residents to connect with one another by creating accounts. It displays the projects and provides accountability to the work we do. It allows people to vote on projects, and it basically creates a repository for all the participatory processes that we have run. There's different versions and different features of this, some that we use more than others. This is not, I will not go over that in detail right now, but the point to share is that this is one stop for all the content around participatory budgeting processes. Next, please. So is this the only tool that is out there? What are the alternatives? What are the trade-offs? Next. So most of the other tools that we found, they charge per admin account when they're privately owned. So that means that the more people you wanna have in your team that uses, the more that you're gonna have to pay. They not only charge a monthly fee for admin people, they also charge by the people that you reach. So the more successful you are in running a process, the more you have to pay, the most unsustainable the process becomes, which is, one of the many examples of how not everything that government does is for profit and money making, right? Like cannot work under the logic of startups. And then they also have subscription models that can charge different levels for different features that you have access to. So none of this happens with the CDIM. Then the next one. So does that mean that it is free? No, it is not free. We have to pay for the technical people that then can get to implement it next. But and we have to maintain it. Next. So how much did we spend? Next slide, please. What I wanted to show you here is the trend that we stopped. When I initially took this job, we moved from a contract that was around $80,000 that increased to $120,000. That then increased to stay in the other one. Yeah, thank you. That went into $385,000 with the attempt to try to get everything together and align all the vendors. It didn't become that expensive just as a natural consequence. But what was a trend was that the prices were going to continue to increase to a point that suddenly we were not going to be able to maintain the infrastructure. So instead, we go to the next one. What we tried to do was a process of diversifying the vendors that we were getting the contracts from. So we moved from having all of our money being spent on the Spruce contract with the open source politics to then build internal capacity, first get a consultant that could support us for design work, and eventually getting full-time lines to be working on technology development, technology design, and data science. So that basically, those lines support way more than this one tool in the context of the Civic Engagement Commission. As I showed you at the beginning, the spillover effects of this funding go to every single program lane versus just one particular digital tool. Next. So now I just want to tell you a little bit about some of the work that has changed. Go to the next slide, please. Some quick examples, and I'm going to be trying to be explaining to you the projects one by one on a more regular basis, so that we don't have to torture you all this fast. But next, so quick changes to the tool, right? Where the one that was costing $180,000 was one that was on the side. That is the tool that we started with. So we were able to do all this research that I described and transform that into a platform that reflected something that people were actually going to be using, which then led to us having a significantly larger amount of votes, moving from 800 digital votes to 40,000 digital votes. Next. Next slide, please. We were also able to reduce the amount of time that it will take you to create an account. It used to be about 30 minutes when people were struggling by creating accounts and bouncing from system to system, to something that you can do in less than 5 minutes. And also, as of right now, if you go to vote, you can actually do the whole voting in less than 5 minutes without creating an account. Then we created other types of improvements to showcase the projects and create accountability and create these feedback loops. This was the very initial stages. Now we're in the process of transforming even this to a better system. Next, please. Other types of initiatives that we did, we tried to create a culture of user journey mapping, where we basically were looking at how people experience our digital services as a full, in complete connection with the in-person and the digital, so that we could identify where were the places where there were gaps or where people were struggling the most, and then even map how they were feeling about it, which led us to identify, for example, people were feeling frustration in particular parts of our process, which then allows us to improve that part of the process. We also did partnerships with Cornell Tech to take a look at the data. So at this point, we have about 12,000 individual inputs from New Yorkers on a variety of issues. We could take that data and we were able to improve how we collect it to have it by the zip code. So I can tell you by the zip code, for example, what are the things that young people, young Latino men in Inglewood and Washington Heights care about more than others, right? I can also tell you there's so much information in this data. People will tell you problems. For example, we have the highest asthma rate of the city. People will tell you sometimes solutions. Just put cameras on the streets, bring more police officers, hire more sanitation workers. Sometimes people will tell you concerns. Some of those concerns might be informed by fears. People will say, I'm worried immigrants are going to take my jobs. People could also say concerns that are informed by research. People will say things like, well, last time you said you were going to do a rezoning of a neighborhood. You said you were going to create 4,000 luxury units. Turns out there's 12,000. Why should I believe you when you say you're going to do the same? So there's different types of concerns. Regardless of where they sit on a political spectrum, they are pieces of information that tell you how people are thinking about issues. So being able to analyze that and to process that and bring that back to New Yorkers is one of the projects that we're working on. Next, please. So as you saw, the partnership with the New School to increase the impact assessment and the trainings for the organizations and the nonprofits, partnerships with Cornell Tech to do data analysis, partnerships with NYU GovLab to do research on, okay, if we're going to be assessing what trust in democracy, how do we increase civic trust? We have then to define civic trust. How do we go about that and make it into concrete indicators? And also we partner with folks like Ideas 42, which is a behavioral science consultancy and NYC opportunity to identify, okay, how do we react to the feedback we're getting from young people where they say, your idea generation sessions are cool, but they're boring. They take too long. So we did a lot of research with them to then find opportunities to improve that. And we have amazing results that I can present on in another time. Next, please. So in terms of technical capacity, this allows us to do better visualization and dashboards and then identify behavioral opportunities to change your program and create improvements across all program lanes. And then finally, this research, right, this work that we're doing, next slide, please, because it is an open source platform, it's part of a community. Currently, the government of Brazil, the President's Office of Brazil used our Participate site as inspiration for them to create Brazil Participativo, which now has more than 1.5 million people in the platform and is the main tool that the federal government uses for participatory processes. And this brings me to the point that I was trying to reflect with you at the beginning. The work of the commission, what we do, we're limited by by the resources that we have and the constraints of New York City government when it comes to building technical infrastructure. But the impact of showing that it can be done is way larger than the funding that we have and the allocation of our budget. Like, I think the context of the example of Brazil is an example of how a commission like ours can lead in the world and how the technical improvements that we do can change how others do what they do. and then come back to us. Now, thanks to the investments that they are doing, they have an entire team of about 40 people just working on improving the digital platform. And because we're part of this open source community, we now can bring those investments back to the work of the Civic Engagement Commission. Well, we're working on it. So that's my report to you. Happy to answer any questions you have.
You, Oscar. I think we have a couple of more slides in here, but I'm guessing we can just.
Yeah. I think those the rest of the slides were after the thank you. They were just notes that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Well, since we're kind of running tight on time, we could have Jorwell, if you want to come up and share some of the information on the media plan that we have for this month, that would be great. Thank you, Oscar.
Afternoon.
Yep, go for it.
Oh, just waiting for the slide. Next slide, please. So briefly, I'll go over the media plan for both the ranked choice voting VLA media campaign and the People's Money campaign that we're currently running. I briefly will go over the expense and the percentage budget allocation, and then the specifics for the language that we focus on within the two highest platforms used for both campaigns. So for the VLA media plan, as you can see, a portion of the budget, about 9%, was used for the May special election. Then we used about 39% for digital ranked choice voting, digital meaning social media advertising, so that's on Facebook and Instagram. Print ethnic media was about 29%, and that's ethnic media outlets in the languages that we provide services in. Radio was 22%. And then Rank to Vote is a very small amount, which is Rank to Vote, which is our voting platform. That is a practice tool used to practice what ranked choice voting looks like. So we essentially created in-language versions for all the 13 languages that we provide voter language assistance for residents to be able to practice what a ranked choice voting ballot looks like. We use one example that we have is, for example, in Korean, it's a Korean ballot, and which is your favorite Korean food, so folks can rank their favorite Korean food, and that way to serve as an example of how they would vote when using the ranked choice ballot in real life. So the subtotal of the media spend for this campaign is about $76,473. And if you go to the next slide, you can see for the two platforms that we use the most, which are print ethnic media and radio. Because of the large population of Russian language voters that we support, there are about 3 times the insertion, $1,800 spent towards that. For Haitian, it's about 2,000, Yiddish 3,900, Polish 600, Arabic 2,000. Urdu 4,100, Chinese 2,958, Bengali 2,600, and Korean 2,296, with a total allocation of $22,254. This essentially is considered with both the some of these prices are a little bit higher or different based on the cost for imprint within these outlets. And then on the right, you can see the radio spend. So we spent about a large percentage of that in Russian radios because there was proven evidence to show that a lot of Russian speakers use these outlets and the impressions are a little bit higher. So we spend about a little over $12,000 on Russian radio advertising, $3,400 on Haitian Creole with Radio Soleil, and $1,400 at radio ramps for Polish voters, with a total allocation of $17,086.70. So this is just to see kind of an overview of how we separate our language advertising within each platform. Oh, sorry. Okay. So now with our, is this better? Yeah. So with our PB media plan, due to restrictions with free advertising placement, we actually increased our spend this year for out-of-home ads, and by out-of-home, that's Subway and MTA advertising. So we spent about $100,000 there, which is about 60% of our budget, $20,000 in digital, which is specifically social media, 19,150, which is on digital ethnic media, so ethnic media outlets and digital outlets and platforms. Print ethnic media is about 18,050. And then QR code generator, we spend about $300, which is for us to be able to create our own QR codes to be able to personalize and track how our QR codes are getting scanned and be able to increase our capacity to have personalized QR codes depending on what media platforms we're using. If you go to the next slide, you can see the division. So for out of home, it's $100,000 total. 63,000 in interior cards subway. So that's specifically the train carts. And the overhead, and we decided to use posters instead of the screens to allow for consistent advertising. So that way, if folks take the train, no matter what time they're on, they can constantly see our advertising versus a screen that is a little bit limited and on a sliding basis. And then same thing with the subway 2 sheets. These are in specific train stations throughout the city. We prioritize our tree neighborhoods for this, but some are outside of the tree neighborhoods. It's about 140 posters for $36,670 for the out of home. And then on the left, you can see the Facebook and Instagram kind of separation. A large percentage was spent. This division was based on our digital voting metrics from last year and the kind of the gaps that we wanted to fill. So a large portion of our digital votes last year came from Spanish and Chinese communities. So that's why they constitute 35% and 25% respectively of our advertising, with later Arabic and Haitian Creole covering 10% of each campaign with $2,000. And then we also have launched this year our social media competition called Your Voice, Your Vote. This is essentially a video competition allowing community members to create a video explaining why they voted in the People's Money, hoping that this allows natural traffic to not only our website and our ballot, but also to help increase civic awareness of this process. We're letting folks know that if they submit a video, they can be entered into a raffle to win a $250 gift card to really leverage community voices and their own networks in getting involved with the People's Money, so hoping that that furthers building trust and relationships and connections with the CEC. Happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you, Jorwell. So I'm going to skip ahead and then come back to the relational organizing at the end, because I think the team from IBO wants to be able to leave a little early for a call they have. So if you could come up to present, that would be great. You could introduce yourselves, please, while Hannah and...
Thank you so much for letting us speak. Hi, everyone. We're from the New York City Independent Budget Office, and we're basically just here to introduce the agency and let you know about some new public-facing resources that we have. My name is Sinray. I'm the Community Engagement Specialist. And Hannah?
My name is Hannah. I'm also a Community Engagement Specialist. Before coming to IBO, I was a teacher in East Harlem. So I'm doing a lot of work centered around youth. And yeah, we're just here to tell you about some of those opportunities to work with you all and hopefully just get the word out about our budget related work. Next slide.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So what is IBO? I know a lot of people are not actually very familiar with us. The Independent Budget Office is a city agency, but we are nonpartisan and independent in the sense that we do not report to any elected officials. Our primary function is to provide data-driven fiscal and policy insights into how New York City is governed and the services that they provide. How we do this is through 3 charter mandated reports, which are published in alignment with the mayoral budget plans. So we do independent analyses of the primary budget, the executive budget, the preliminary, sorry, and the November plan. Aside from that, we also publish year-round reports. We have analysts who cover topics from housing, education, environment, basically anything to do with the city. We are reporting on it, likely. So other than that, next slide, please. Sorry, so I kind of jumped ahead a little, but like I said, we have our 3 charter mandated reports, which you can read on our website, ibo.nyc.gov, and you can just see the examples there. And then some examples of reports that we have published recently, changes to New York City's employee staffing levels, explanation of fair student funding, a look into the capacity and utilization of pre-K, 3K seats, across districts and police overtime trends between tenure and overtime hours worked. So that's just a kind of sampling of a few reports that we've published recently. And now Hannah's going to take over for the next slide.
Okay, I'm going to go over this one pretty quickly as well. So another area that we work in is we provide a lot of testimonies at City Council specifically. Recently, a lot of those testimonies have been focusing on something that everyone is probably worried about, the federal cuts and how New York City can mitigate those. And then the biggest part of what we are here to talk about today is our presentations and general resources, which are on the next slide. We've developed three sorry, could you go to the next slide? We've developed three budget workshops that are kind of targeted to different audiences, and as a way that I think we could work with CEC, since your mission is also very aligned with budget transparency. The first one is just targeted to people that are in community boards or really any community advocacy group, and it has to do with Budget 101 workshops that really teach people about the budget process and timeline, as well as how they can engage themselves in that budget process. The second one is directed towards youth, which is something that I've been working with. We have been partnering with high schools around New York City to actually go into classrooms and have students learn about the budget process. They also do a really fun budget module that they've been really engaged in, where they role play city council members, and that's been really fun to watch. And we're seeking to do that over the summer too, if there are any opportunities to work with CEC or any other organizations to bring it to high schoolers or even bring it to college students. Lastly, we also have a New York City school funding workshop. This is mostly directed towards parents or people that are guardians of children and really want to learn about their own school budget. So we have pamphlets that also go into a little more in-depth descriptions of all these presentations and how you can request them and just get in touch with us. So we'll leave those flyers outside as well. But that's it. Do you have any questions?
Oh, to add one more thing, we also do tailor some of our budget workshops to specific organizations. Like Hannah actually went to transportation alternatives. Obviously, they care about transportation. So we did a little bit more of a deep dive into the DOT budget and like help them understand how to navigate it. So, you know, I know that everyone here is involved in like lots of different types of work. So if you have a group who wants to learn about a specific part of the budget, we will do our best to accommodate.
So I've been including your training updates in the e-blast for the community board that I work for. But it looks like you've come to the end of a cycle. Is there another cycle starting or renewing especially for the Budget 101 workshops?
Yeah, so we, Cinray just hosted a couple of Budget 101 workshops, but we also want to make it available to people upon request. So, you know, if your community board is interested in a certain presentation or a Brooklyn Public Library is interested in summer programming, you can always request that we bring it to you. And so that way it doesn't have to be on a certain date. We can work around your schedule as well.
Yeah, no, that's not just our community board members who I'd like to think are a little bit have some level of savvy, at least in a small corner of the budget, but the community itself, because folks come to the community board and say, we should be funding this and we should be funding that. And first of all, the finite nature of funding is itself a part of what your training provides. And then the need to, well, if you fund this, then you have to cut someplace else. So that part of your offering is really important, and we're trying to move that out to the community, not just among the 50 board members. So if there are, and the best way to do that is to promote the programs which we've had, but I've noticed that they there's a series of them, and we seem to be at the end. So is there another one coming, or how does that work?
Yeah, we don't have a set calendar at the moment, but we are developing one. And if we do see a need, I know CEC does regular, like monthly, maybe it wasn't CEC, but to answer your question, not yet, but I would like to do that. And I'm thinking every bi-monthly or maybe every quarter so people can plan ahead.
Yeah, that'd be great. Thanks.
Thank you. I also just realized I recognize we've met once. I was at your CV. No, I think I was at your board meeting. I have your card somewhere.
Okay, but yeah, cool. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you. Bye. Okay, we're kind of ending towards the end, but there are a few more things that I wanted to just talk through very quickly, which is how can commissioners help with participatory budgeting, get out the vote? We will share the ranked choice voting with the video with you so you can get that, but I don't want to make you admit anything to which you would not admit here publicly. I just want to scan here QR code on the screen so that you can vote if you haven't already voted.
I do the too, but.
Okay, amazing. So the first thing that you can do if you're a commissioner of the CEC is to vote in the people's money. Okay. And then step number 2, go to the next slide. Making sure that you are connecting with your family, friends, and colleagues and encouraging them to vote. This is very important. This section is called relational organizing because relational organizing, connecting to your own relationships and your networks, is a really important way that we can organize and educate people. Research has shown that actually people are much more likely to listen to people they know than like some random person coming to them and telling them to vote. So you all have networks, you all have a public presence, you all have family members, right? So encouraging them to vote is very, very important. So I ask you to do this with at least 5 people, but ideally more. And to give you language for a text, so you can take your phone and put in this language and text 5 people, and then you can text me and let me know you did it. Okay. I'm going to be looking out for those texts. Support that you could, the next slide. Additional things you can do. We will send you the social media toolkit. Please put out the graphics on your social media handles. If you have organizations that can help promote this, that would be awesome. Give them the communications person's social media toolkit. That would be great. We do have a social media day of action coming up on June 18th, and we'd love for you to participate in that. We will send you information on that. And we ask that when you're posting on that day, just to tag us so that we know that you're out there on our behalf, on our collective behalf. And then if you really want to help, you can host a virtual vote party with your friends. You could do a Zoom call and just call people together. Tell them a little bit about the Civic Engagement Commission, and you can flash that QR code that I had on the screen and get them to vote. You know, you could do this with 10 people, 20 people. It's a way for you to bring friends together and tell them a little bit more about your role with the commission as well. For those who may not already know, tell them about what the commission does and encourage them to participate. So just some ideas for you. Definitely we'll be looking out for those texts from all the commissioners. Don't forget. And with that, does anyone have any questions or any comments? Yes, I do actually have the, if you could bring them up here, we can give them out. That's another thing that I didn't put on there, but I will give each of you some of these palm cards and you could take them and encourage people to vote online as well. That's a really important thing that we want to try to shift towards. Oscar talked a lot about the digital divide and why, we really do get a lot of paper ballots. And in a city like New York, we see the potential for people to participate online. So would love your support with that as well. So any questions, comments, promises that you'll make, that you will text people? Amazing. Okay, great. So do I hear a motion? We can actually end like 8 minutes early, in spite of starting late, which is great. Can I hear a motion to? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we are unanimously agreeing to end the meeting. Thank you so much, everyone, for being with
Have a good
us.
day. Thanks.